Fam, I am Alexis Roan, and I love gold hoops and free people jumpsuits. I just needed to get that out. Okay, so oh, something interesting just happened. I was watching the Women's Theater Festival, the Best of Fringe Awards, and thank you to everyone who supported Call and Response and me and the entire cast, and just like all of the ways that you've shown love. I just posted an awesome theater review written by Justin Britt. I was like, oh my God, Dustin gets me. He gets exactly what I'm doing. And so, check that out when you get a second. But as I was watching the awards, I was transported back to the first weekend of August 2005. Many of you know that period of my life as the season of Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine, where I prayed the most dangerous prayer of my adult life, Lord, I'm ready to know. I never tell the part that happened before that particular incident. What happened before then was I was in Los Angeles attending the Society for Children Book Writers and Illustrators Conference. I was there to participate in an idol competition. They were inviting authors, writers, anyone who did school visits to come and to compete with your best school visit. And so I would go to urban high schools, like wherever there were reluctant reading teens and preteens, since that was the audience that I wrote for. And I would do these talks. So 400 people came to this idol competition to present their best talk. The first place award was a free trip to New York to meet with an agent and to do your best presentation at an actual school visit. So I'm like, yeah, baby. Second place was free registration for the following year's conference. It was valued at $400, and it included hotel stay and all of that. So it was still a nice prize, but it wasn't a trip to New York. So like I had my sights set on, I'm like, please, New York, I want to go to New York. Because I would get a meeting with an agent, I would get in front of the students, and I'm like, once I step to the mic, it's like, oh, they like, who is that? I step to the mic, oh, that's Alexis Roan. And you always remember that. So I've always known that. So I've set my sights on first place. I'm in the competition. The very first round, it was that same sort of dismissive, kind of like, oh, okay, who is this black woman or whatever, because I'm surrounded by people who are in costumes. There's a fairy, there's a clown, there's an animated, white guy who does, he writes audition pieces for young actors. And so he's like jumping all around the stage or whatever. And I'm like, I got on my platform heels, and like, I'm not jumping around, I'm a double D cup. I don't feel good about my support. Like they stack nicely, but I'm not jumping around. I'm not the jumping around type, it's just impractical. So that's what I'm competing with. So they all go before me. And so then they're like, oh, okay, well, here she come. What is she going to do? I open my mouth, and immediately I command the attention of the room. So for the entire competition, I am advancing through each round. But so is the guy who writes the audition pieces for young actors. So the two of us are like neck and neck the whole way through. And both of us are like practicing who we are. We're just totally being who we are and what we would do at a school visit. So we get to the finals. There are 10 of us on stage out of 400 people who were competing in this competition. 10 of us. And there are 3 judges. They are all white men. One of them is an older white gay male, Tommy DePaola, the late children's illustrator. And he was a huge fan of mine. Like from the time I opened my mouth, like Tommy was like, oh my God, Alexis Roan. He was so awesome. I loved him. He had these great stories about, him and Maya Angelou, and like he was a lot of fun. But there were 3 white men who were judging my school visit, which was targeting urban, reluctant reading teen and preteen school audiences. So we all go through the competition, go through the 10 of us in the finals. We get through get through our school visits, school presentations, and then the 3 judges have to meet. And I'll never forget standing on stage and watching the 3 of them talk, and then Tommy came from around the stage and started playfully punching one of them. And the whole audience cracked up laughing at their animation, and so did I, but I also thought, oh shit, this was about me. So they come back together and they announce the second place winner first. And they say second place winner receives a free conference, registration for next year, hotels covered. Second place winner, Alexis Rome. And I closed my eyes and then I smiled and I accepted it, and I tried as best I could to show gratitude, but I'm clearly disappointed because I was like doing this for New York. And so they're trying to upsell, like, no, this is a great, I was like, no, this is the great award, or whatever. And then of course the first place prize goes to the guy who did the audition pieces for child actors. And I was a fan of his work, and he was also a fan of mine, but we were both going for the brass ring, and both of us weren't going to get it. And so he got it, and so and he was really good. And but I remember leaving that place wondering, will I have to acquiesce to dominant systems in order to secure the brass ring? I remember leaving that, really feeling that, wondering if it was safe for me to be myself, to be who I was. But I put a pin in that moment because I had a whole bunch of bullshit that was coming after it that I had to deal with. It was like, yo, you about to have a tsunami of shit. Like, you got some other things to go to. And so fast forward tonight, revisiting that moment and listening to all of the awards be called out, and Call and Response got honorable mention for Best Outstanding Ensemble, and artistry and messaging, like social messaging, which like check, like I'm like that is for real what I do. So they got it, and then Dustin's review was like phenomenal, and my cast was awesome. But I could not help but think about that particular moment, and I wanted to know, like, oh my God, like, as I'm almost like tomorrow is August, so it would have been this weekend. Like, this weekend would be the anniversary of that moment. Don't make me 15 years since that moment. And I think that as I once again approach that question, am I supposed to acquiesce to a dominant culture standard in order to secure the brass ring that's being held by the dominant culture? And the answer for me is hell no. And the reason why it's hell no is because every morning I do a sunrise prayer walk. And in part of that prayer walk, what I am doing is saying, okay, Lord, you own everything. Everything is your servant. All things are your servants. And so I am going to take whatever comes in this day as if it is being presented from your hand. And so I think one of the things that this moment has caused me to do was to lock down on, number one, I am not to ever be anything other than who I am. Number two, I'm not ever to translate any of my messages for the dominant culture's brass ring, because it's like a fuck ton of brass rings, out there. And part of what my brass ring looks like is, thriving, which means me taking care of myself, spoiling my mother, and leaving a financial inheritance for all of the children in my family. And the way that I'm going to do that is by telling the stories of the resilience of Black girls and Black women, and telling those stories on diverse platforms: page, stage, screen, web, podcast, radio. And so the way that I will tell stories will always be avant-garde to particular mediums. And I am grateful for all of the ways that I have been able to grow and to stretch and to create magic on the screen and to be in the company of such amazing talent. All of us looking very different, but prayerfully, all of us fully being ourselves. I intend to have a livable future. I intend to, in the future, when I look back on this moment, on all of my past moments, to be able to say with confidence that I was never bifurcated in who I was. I always brought fully who I was to every experience and accepted every token, every acknowledgement, every lesson, every win as coming directly from the hand of God, where all things are God's servants. It's working out. So I was trying to figure out how I was going to end this video, and I think I will just say for all of us, hashtag keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Happy Friday.